Welcome to Epic Yarn Gems. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this happy little pumpkin. I used various pieces of scrap yarn that I had around. They were mainly Red Heart yarn as well as Karen Simply Soft. For the body of the pumpkins I did use a 5mm hook, and for the stems I did use a 4.5mm hook. I'm going to show you how I make this with a magic ring. There are other different ways that you can make it without the magic ring, and I will make note of that as I go through the pattern. So what we're going to start off is with the magic loop, where we wrap our yarn around and cross over. We take our hook going under, grabbing that second piece of yarn and giving it a nice little twist. After we've given it a twist, we are going to do a chain one. This does not count as part of your chain to start the pumpkin. So after you do this chain one, you can chain as many as you like to start. The more you chain, the larger your pumpkin will be. For this video, I did do a chain 13. The next part of the pumpkin will be all half double crochets, so once you get to the end, you are going to yarn over, go through the second chain from the end, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over, go through all three. You are going to continue this all the way down the chain, and you should have a total of 12 stitches when you get done. So let's look at another half double crochet. Yarn over, go into the chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all three. So that is how you do a half double crochet. If you need a reminder video, I will include the tutorial for my half double crochet in the link above. So as you finish up your last half double crochet, you are back at your magic ring. You are going to go to the side that has two strands of yarn, and you are going to go under them and come up through the center of that magic ring. You will be doing a slip stitch to start off with, and then a chain one, and you will turn your work. Now you will skip that slip stitch and that chain one and go into the back loop of your next stitch. So that will be the third from the end, and you are going to do half double crochets in that back loop only. So you can see we're going into the back loop and doing a half double crochet. We will go down the entire row. Again, you should have a total of 12 stitches when you're done. As you finish your half double crochet, you will do a chain one and turn your work. You will not go into the chain one, but the next stitch, again going into the back loop only and doing a half double crochet. You will go down the entire row until you get back to the magic ring. I will show you again what you do once you get to the magic ring, and this will be the pattern for the rest of your pumpkin. You will be going back and forth with a turning chain on each end for as many rows as you need to make the pumpkin the size that you want. So we're back at the ring. We're going to come up through the middle of the ring, yarn over and do a slip stitch, and then we are going to do a chain one. Again, you're not going to go into the slip stitch or the chain one, but into the first stitch, which is the third V from the end, and you are going to do half double crochets all the way to the end. And this is, like I said, the pattern that you are going to continue to do for the entire pumpkin. I did do 12 stitches on the way up, and I ended up doing 18 rows for my pumpkin. And then once you get to the very end, what you're going to do is you are going to cinch your pumpkin together with a seam. I'm not the best seamstress, but I will do my best here. I do a very simple stitch to put these seams together. What I do is I line them up, and then I will do a slip stitch in the opposite side to get me started. And then for the pumpkin, what I did is I used the front loop and the foundation chain on the other side to do my stitch. The reason that I did this is it gave it a nice clean look, and it did flow in with the rest of the pattern of the pumpkin. So this is just the way that I did it. If you have other ways that you like to do seams, please feel free. I'm sure it will turn out beautiful. So again, I use the front loop on the stitch from this side, and then I went through the foundation chain, yarn over, and just pull through all three for a nice slip stitch. So as you finish up, you can turn your work inside or out and see whatever side you like best and how your seam turned out. And then the last thing is just to make sure that you do one final stitch at the very top so that your pumpkin has a nice clean closure. So now that we're back at the top and we are finishing off that very last stitch, what I'm going to do is I am going to cut off my yarn, and after I do that, I am going to pull the yarn through that last stitch to just finish it off and to hold it tight into place. So once you've done that, we have completed the top and the bottom, and we have it all cinched together. Now we are going to go to the bottom of our pumpkin, and we are going to weave our yarn in and out so that we are able to cinch up the bottom. So I use a yarn needle, and then what I do is I just go back and forth into the base of the bottom, just putting them into those stitches in the bottom. It doesn't matter exactly where you put them, but the closer you put these stitches together, the tighter of closure and cinch that you can get on the bottom. As I finish up, coming back to where I started with the sewing on the bottom, you are ready now to put in your polyfill, or any other type of filling that you want. I know some people will use scrap yarn to do it, but I did buy some polyfill to put in here. And what you do is you just ball it up as tight as you can, and you just start shoving it right in the middle of that pumpkin. Put in as much as you want. Obviously, the more you put in, the firmer the pumpkin will be. But once you have everything in, what you need to do is you need to pull those two strands that you used to sew around the button to close up the bottom of your pumpkin. And as you do that, that little hole will get smaller and smaller. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to tie that off and give a little squeeze so it takes more of a pumpkin shape. You can use your yarn needle to go back and forth to make sure that that hole is closed as well as you would like it to be. And then what I do is I will put the yarn needle with the yarn up through the center of the pumpkin up to the very top, and then I will pull that needle through and just give it a little tug so that the pumpkin gets a little more shape, and it just looks nice, I think, once you cinch it up a little bit. And the last thing you're going to do is you are going to use your magic circle, the tail that was left over, and you are going to give that a pull. And by doing that, it will make that top hole smaller and smaller. Make it as small as you want. I also put a little topper on here that I'm going to show you how to do, but you can just use the yarn and cinch it up a little bit and squish it around so that it looks more like a pumpkin. And for all of your ends, you can just ball them up and put them in the center of your pumpkin, or you can tie them off and cut them, whichever you prefer. And for the stem, what I did is I grabbed some of my green yarn and a smaller crochet needle, my 4.75 I grabbed, and I did a chain 7. I went into the second stitch or second chain from the end of the hook and did single crochets all the way back. I chained 1 and just went back and forth until I got to the thickness that I wanted for my pumpkin stem. There are many different things or different ways that you can do to create a stem, or you don't even have to create a stem. You could put a cinnamon stick in the top of your pumpkin, you could put a little twig in there, you could use some decorative leaves, or you could make an I-cord. I was going to try to do that in this video, but right now I am still learning how to make the I-cord, and I'm pretty clumsy doing it, so I don't think it's quite the time to teach you until I can perfect it a little bit more. So once I got to the desired length, what I did is I folded over my two ends and I joined the two together with a seam similar to what we did for the pumpkin. And once I did that, it made a nice little tube, and all I needed to do was at the very top put in a little stitch to sew it up so that it did look more like a stem. But really, whatever you want to do, if you don't want to do anything on the top of your pumpkin, that's fine too. As I finish this off, I wanted to let you know a little story of why I named this the Happy Little Pumpkin. And when I do my YouTube videos, my kids laugh at me a little bit and say, "Mom, you sound like Bob Ross." And if you've ever heard Bob Ross when he is doing his painting, he puts happy little trees into his painting. So I thought it might be a little funny to call this video the Happy Little Pumpkin. So now that we have our stem, we can just put that into the little hole that was left in the top by our magic circle, and pretty much just do what you can to shove that into that little center hole and secure it in there. You might want to put a little stitch through it. Also, you can pull the strings down through the bottom and tie them to the bottom, and it makes a little flatter of a pumpkin. Since pumpkins come in all different shapes and sizes, how these come out are in all different shapes and sizes as well. I don't think any two that I've made are exactly the same. In this video, I showed you how to use the magic ring to create the top of your pumpkin, but if you don't want to use the magic ring, you can simply just create a flat swatch going back and forth with your half double crochets, and you can use the method that I use to cinch the bottom to cinch the top as well if that works better for you. Thank you for spending time with me. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave me some comments. If you'd like to see more of my videos, please subscribe to Epic Yarn Gems and turn on notifications. I hope you've had a great day.